Hey everyone, it's Kim here. My channel is Never Too Late. I'm back with another video in my series about my ongoing struggle with anxiety. Um, Today I wanted to talk a little bit about the power of choice. So when I'm talking about choice, in this context, what I really mean is the big choice, the choices of your emotions, how you feel, the whether you let things bother you, choosing to be happy or not happy. Those type of choices, not your everyday what should I have for lunch choice, but the choices that involve how you feel about things, how you choose to let things affect you. Um, when I was struggling with anxiety prior to actually seeing a therapist and starting to take anxiety meds, which have helped me greatly. I know medication is not for everyone, but for me, it's been very helpful. I didn't feel like I had a choice over those types of things. I did not feel like I had a choice to not let something affect me. I would try. People would say to me, "Why are you letting that bother you?" And I would say, I'm not going to let it bother me." But then I would relive it over and over in my head. And you know, I would try not to let it bother me, but I wasn't really able to succeed very often with that. But going through therapy with the help of my therapist and things that I learned while working with her and working with myself. Um, and probably, partly due to medication as well, I do have more control and I am able to make more choices about those things than I have in the past. And while it sounds like the simplest thing, it has been a revelation in my life. It's just brought so much positive change to my life. I'm just so much more aware now of when I am slipping into the pattern of, getting frustrated over things that really, when I think about them, aren't that important. Um, or being upset about things, just those everyday things that I used to let get me down, that I used to let really impact my life. Um, I do want to absolutely point out that I am in no way a therapist. I am just someone who has suffered with anxiety pretty much my whole life. And through therapy, through medication, I have a much better handle on it than I ever have. And I'm living a much happier life. A lot of that is just due to being able to recognize and make choices about how I will react to things, how I will view the people around me, how I will choose to use my time. Um, there was this thing that I heard a long time ago, and I've known this for so long, but I think I wasn't in the past able to really put it in practice, which is almost more frustrating to know and not being able to make it work for me. But the basic idea is when someone says something to you or hurts your feelings, frustrates you, angers you, whatever it is that causes that negative feeling in you, um, you know, the first time that it happens, when it happens, it's happened. You deal with it. It is what it is. But every time you bring it up and you think about it and you run it over and over again in your head, or you tell everybody or tell other people about it and relive the experience, at that point, that's me, making a choice to have those feelings again. It's kind of like the first time it happens, it's someone else beating you over the head. Every time after that, you're taking that stick and hitting yourself over the head. Um, And I did that. I've always done that. I've always, relived things, focused on things, dwelled on things that made me unhappy, that made me upset. People didn't include me. Somebody was mean to me, whatever that is, whatever the situation may or may not have been. I lived in that emotion and I let it impact my life. I let it make me unhappy, unsatisfied, frustrated. And I choose not to do that anymore. And I'm not saying that that's easy. You know, I've been practicing it for a while now. So with some things it has gotten fairly easy now. I can look at something in the moment. I can ask myself a couple of questions, and the questions I like to ask myself the most are things like the first one is generally, is this bringing anything positive into your life? Is the way you're feeling doing anything good for you? Are you getting anything out of this? The second question is there something more you need from this situation? Is this unresolved in some way? Is it a situation where maybe you had a disagreement with someone? Do you need to apologize? Was there some aspect of it where you need to take responsibility and do whatever your part is to make things better? Or do you need to learn from it? Is there something in there that you need to learn from to not put yourself in the same situation again? If the answer to both of those questions is no, nothing positive, nothing else unresolved, then it's time for me to let it go. So a lot of situations I am able to just tell myself once to let it go. And, it's pretty much gone. Other things do, they come back from time to time and I'll start ruminating about it in my brain. And then I have to remind myself, maybe once, maybe twice, maybe regularly, to let it go. This is not helping me. It's not bringing anything positive or joyful into my life. So it needs to go. There's no room. I only have room in my brain anymore for the things that make my life better. I don't have any room for the things that are unimportant and making my life harder. I also am really trying to give people the benefit of the doubt and not always assume intentions. A lot of times maybe I was upset about something and there was really no intention there, and I'm trying to give people the benefit of the doubt. Also, there are also times when people just are mean, unkind. It just, it happens. I'm trying really hard, and it's not always easy, but I'm trying hard to repay unkindness with kindness. Because I don't know that person's story necessarily. I don't know what they've been through in their life, in that day, in that morning. I don't know what happened. Maybe they just had a really horrible day and, I just happened to walk into it when it was exploding. I don't know. So I'm trying to not take things personally and respond in the same way. I'm trying to just respond with kindness. There are definitely times when it takes me a little while to get to kindness. I maybe need to just practice staying away from that person until I can respond with kindness. But I try really hard. Because you just never know. You never know why someone is acting the way they are. Or maybe you're seeing someone just on their worst day, in their worst moment. So I'm just, and I'm not doing this, part of this is selfish. It is trying to be nice to other people and impact other people in a positive way. But it's also selfish in a way too, because the more good I can see in people, the less I'm going to take things personally and be upset and have things impact my life negatively. So it's not completely altruistic. I'm not not that good. But anyway, I do try. I do try. And you know, what I'm talking about today are, the smaller things in life. I'm not talking about, tragedy in life. There are definitely things where they're just too big for this kind of thought process. And I think in those situations, that would be a time when I probably would reach back out and, find a new another therapist. Unfortunately, my therapist that I was seeing, who I loved, has has left. So she I think has moved away. So I would need to find someone new. But hey, I also feel like you find the people you need at different points in your life. And I'm in the future, if I need to see a therapist again, I maybe I will need a different type, a different person. And I have faith that I'll find that person. But yeah, I might need to reach out for help in those bigger situations. But in the day to day choices about whether or not I'm happy and what I choose to let affect me, I have that power now. And, I wake up some mornings and I definitely wake up just in a bad mood. I don't want to go to work. I just want to sleep in. I want to go back to sleep. Whatever. I don't want to do it. I'm cranky. It's just cranky. I've also realized that I have a choice there too. I can choose to continue with that feeling, to let it impact my day, influence my day, probably affect people around me because nobody wants to be around me when I'm cranky. Or I can choose to find something positive to focus on and just little by little make the choices to be happier. I don't know. I am going to work, but at least I get to have my favorite tea because I left some there, or one of my favorite coworkers will be there and I will get to spend time with them. It's not always easy to find that positive, but generally I can if I actually try to. So I do make it a point to choose the positive and choose happiness whenever I can. And it has made my life infinitely happier. Just infinitely happier. I just try to find the positive. I try to see the good in people. I try to find the positive in situations. There are definitely times where it's harder than others. We had a little bit of an issue with water. It's kind of a little bit of a mini flood. And it was tough because it was just a lot. And that was one where I wasn't able to, get myself into the happy place quickly. So sometimes I do give myself some time. I allow myself a pity party. I allow myself to wallow a little bit. But I find that for me, giving myself a time limit is helpful. And for the flood, I was like, okay, you have a day, wallow, pity party, be miserable for a day, and then figure out what you're going to do about it and move forward. Find how you're going to, what do you need to do? What do you need to fix? What needs to be done? And I did. My husband and I did together. So, yes, there are definitely times, and sometimes it's not a day, sometimes it's an hour. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, this made me really angry. I'm going to give myself an hour to just be mad. But then I'm going to figure out how to snap out of it. Because I don't want to spend an entire day angry. I don't want to spend a week angry. I don't want to be an angry person. So, I make it a point to choose. And, give myself a time limit. I mean, I'm all for a pity party. Sometimes a pity party is well deserved. But, I can't have week-long pity parties. I've done that in the past, not doing that anymore. Anyway, um, basically, I just wanted to share a little bit more about my anxiety and one of the ways that I have found to deal with it to make positive change that has definitely impacted me in a positive way. I am not in any way a therapist or anything like that. I'm just sharing my story because, and I'm not sharing my story to tell anyone else, why aren't you doing this? You should do this. I'm sharing my story because I want to be open about it. And I know in the past I have felt, and I believe other people feel this too. I have felt embarrassed about my anxiety, um, ashamed, like there was something wrong with me, like I wasn't strong enough. Why can't I snap out of it? Why can't I be more in control of my emotions? Why can't I, the list goes on. And, you know, I know now that anxiety, it is a part of me. It's just a part of my brain chemistry. It is something that just is a part of me, just like so many other things. And I'm not going to be embarrassed to talk about it. I'm not going to be ashamed to say that I suffer from anxiety. But I also want to say that I have worked really hard with my therapist and on my own, and I have gotten to such a much better place. Um, so I'm sharing, I guess, because I want to be open about it, and I want to do whatever I can in my small, limited way to take away whatever stigma or shame, embarrassment is still attached to this. And also, if anything in my experience helps, I want to do that too. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.